No, I really haven't had this short of a bench. It's the toughest part. Well, I don't want to say it's the toughest part, but a tough part of it is practice when you're down bodies in trying to get the proper reps in. That's where those practice guys do come into play and really do help out. And recently we've been able to organize that a little bit better and feel better about it. So it's not, in terms of rotations and everything, it actually, I guess it would make a life easier for a coach because there's not that many to rotate in. So in some ways, I guess for personalities and everything, it could be a good thing. But we want to keep on developing players regardless of they're coming off the bench, they're starting. We think everything is fluid in that way, and keep who we have healthy. We've got to be able to take care of those bodies.
And just to follow up, do you have an update on Jessica Carter when she might be back with the team?
I don't have any update on that.
Thank you.
Stefan, go ahead.
Along those lines, do you have any update on Mia Moore and Alasia Hayes and when they might be back?
I really don't have any more information on that one either, other than I did see Mia sweating a little bit. So she's progressing with some of her rehab. And this, I think the same thing with Alasia, but I don't think there's really a timeline on either one of them. It's more about how, everybody's body heals in a different way. So, but it is good to see them, doing the start of our warm-ups, sweating a little bit, but they're under pretty strict restrictions on what they can and cannot do.
Does some of the depth issues, does that play into maybe how you schedule practices? And do you feel like you maybe need more off days, or does it not really matter at all?
Yeah, I don't know if it's so much of how many days, obviously the NCAA has rules how many practices you can play, but it's more what you're doing in that time and how long you're staying on that floor. So, and then the next component is how much contact is involved. So we're probably not having as much contact as what you would normally have. And we would use pads and try to keep people away from their feet as much as possible. So, there's not a chance for some type of injury, which is a good thing to do later on in the season with anybody, as the season takes its toll on their bodies. But no, we've been probably extra careful about some of that, considering, when sometimes we're practicing with 8 people, you can get a lot done in a short amount of time with those 8 people, as opposed to if you got 15 people out there trying to get some reps.
Robbie, go ahead.
Coach, you mentioned the lack of bodies that you have and lack of size too. That's been an issue as well. But early on in that ball game the other day, you're going up against a player that's one of the best in the country at her position, and it seemed like you really frustrated Naz Hillman and some of the players from Michigan defensively. Did you like the execution in the first half, especially and really for the whole game against Michigan and what you saw in that one?
Yeah, I did. I thought we competed on the defensive end really well. And, one person doesn't stop a player like that. She is really good, commands a lot of attention. But I thought we were just tough enough in building some walls against her individually. And then I thought the players that were a pass away, which would either be on a ball side wing or up top, were in what we would call a dig position and ready to rake if she put it on the ground. So I don't think she felt as comfortable as she likes. There's 2 schools of thought. You can full front, face front, and try to deny somebody like that the ball when you're a little bit smaller in the post. And that's a good theory. And I do like that. We've done that before. But she's there are very few players like this in the country right now who actually can seal and get layups. And so her lower body strength is ridiculous. She keeps her arms up, looks illegally, of course, because I'm on the other side. She breaks that arm some, but she does a really good job fundamentally where she can catch you on a side and she's just laying it up. So we chose not to do that and just go to a 3/4 stance and then slide behind, which seems dangerous, and it can be. but then you need to have those extra players around there digging and harassing. So it feels like there's 4 players around her without necessarily committing a double team. Because I think you can see how well she passes on a diagonal opposite. And that's one of the best things she's done. And she's so good. She's seen so many double teams that you go after her with the double team and she'll just fire that thing out opposite. And number 3 is going to knock down those 3-point shots, and they're good at it. So I did think we provided some pretty good resistance.
Following up
Yeah.
on that, I mean, you haven't seen competition like that yet this season. You played some good teams, but that's a top 15 team, and similar to some teams you might see in the SEC. Did you learn anything from your team? Do you feel better about your team moving forward after seeing them in that situation? Because you can't really put that in play in practice. You can't put a Nas Hillman out there in practice to go up against. Did you learn something from your team in that ball game?
Yeah, and we talked to the team about this. It's kind of ironic. It's Thanksgiving, and everybody wants to talk about what they're grateful for or thankful for during Thanksgiving. And it's usually all the positive things, but there are times in life where you have to say thank you, Michigan, for maybe exposing us for who we are at this present time. And nobody wants it. I have a hard time right now saying thank you, Michigan, for that loss. Nobody wants to lose, but we don't want to make excuses. We don't want to blame referees. That is who we are today. We're not there yet. So some of the lessons that they taught us in terms of how long we can go, we got a little frustrated on the offensive end, and we didn't work them enough side to side. We didn't move the ball enough. Well, that's because of what they did. They put some pressure on us, and they made us a little bit tighter than we might have been in some of the other games. And so when you don't work somebody on the offensive end, it becomes extremely hard on the defensive end. And that's where the defense kept us in there for sure. And then our lack of offensive execution is where we are today. And so I think we can do it up to a certain point. I just don't know if we can do it at a championship level today. But I thought over the last 2 days of practice, we've gotten a lot closer to being that team. And Michigan helped show us exactly where we are.
John, go ahead.
Hey, Doug, kind of going off that. I mean, you're 6 games in now. How would you assess the buy-in level of your players this season through those games? How bought in have they been, you think, to you, this program, and what you've been trying to do?
It's a good question. You'd probably need to ask them. I don't feel any resistance when we have hard-hitting film sessions. And when I say hard-hitting, it's just things that an individual player may not want to see in front of their peers. And I think we're getting, if you want to talk about buy-in with that, the buy-in is that we're not doing this to humiliate anybody. We're all a part of that possession. I'm a part of it. You just happen to be the recipient of it, and we're going to learn through you. And so early on, there was some tension, a lot of tension when we would watch film or when we try to teach something like it was a personal affront on somebody. And now I think that we're just understanding each other a little bit better. And I hope that grows over the course of the season through the ups and downs and what's ready to come our way. So yeah, that buy-in one's it's a tough one. And again, I don't feel resistance to what we're teaching them. I feel frustration sometimes when they can't do it right away, and they feel frustration sometimes when they can't do it right away. But I think that's what a normal team would be.
Andy, go ahead.
Hey, Doug, last week you mentioned the I guess you said Shaq-like numbers for the free throw shooting. How, I know you don't want to like overdo it because that could kind of go the opposite way, but is there a certain point you worry about the free throw shooting, and I guess how do you correct that?
Yeah, it's I don't know, in 30 years, it's always corrected itself with positive reinforcement and never making too big of a deal about it. But there is a point where it does get a little bit worrisome. And there have been some minor corrections and, you know, positive reinforcement for sure. But there have been some minor corrections too, because if you have too much movement in anything, and I don't care what sport you're talking about, golf, tennis, extra movement, you can make shots without pressure on. But that extra movement when there's pressure comes back to haunt you. So we've tried to simplify it a couple strokes and get some of that extra movement out so it can hold up under pressure a little bit better. But there's nothing major to it. And we'll just keep grinding away and keep working at it. And I'm still confident that those numbers are going to go up.
Stefan, go ahead.
Doug, just looking ahead a little bit, you guys are heading to Oklahoma this weekend. What do you kind of see from them as a team, and what challenge do they provide?
Yeah, I haven't looked a whole lot at them yet. I've been more on this McNeese game. I took a quick peek the other night, and I believe that coach came from Drake. And so I knew the men's staff pretty well, and she's thought of very highly in the coaching world with some of the stuff they're doing offensively. And that's a program that's done very well over the years. So again, I think it'd be another exciting atmosphere and a team that's playing really, really good basketball to go up against. And then I think we have a little stretch after that. So if there's any more adjustments to be made as we head into the SEC, we're going to have some time to do that, and we'll have more than enough information based on all of these games to make those adjustments.
We got time for one or two more. If anyone has a question, please raise your hand. Nothing? All right. Thanks, guys.